Next on Get Right with Lenny McAllister, why the current conservative movement, if it were a football team, would not be a very good offensive football team, and why perhaps the offensive coordinator and maybe even the head coach are in jeopardy of losing their jobs. Next on Get Right with Lenny McAllister, starting right
now. Get Right with Lenny McAllister.
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
The way we help bring back America and we build the bridges and bring people together is by making sure we hold everybody accountable in a 360 fashion.
So let me close with this. Yes, there is a change that we can believe in, but it will never come from a politician or a government program.
We cannot find physical sanity here in the land of Lincoln, from Carbondale to Elgin, that we can collectively continue to tolerate an insanity power on the streets of South Chicago and East Texas.
We got to move away from the American Idol soundbite nature of politics and back to the American statesman of humble servant leadership that we used to see in politics.
It is time to roll out the era of the new, educated, engaged, and energized American citizen.
I go do the jail ministry. I speak to the kids in the streets. So I'm never going to lay down being a conservative just as much as I'll never lay down being a proud African American.
I feel like a black republic. Money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood. I got love for them. Can't clean my act with the good too much.
Now, before you think that I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so bashing the Republican Party, just know, again, I'm a proud Republican. I'm not proud of what we've been doing in the Republican Party, but I am proud to be a Republican. I am proud to be part of the conservative movement. I think there are certainly benefits for a wide diversity of Americans to embrace and enact and support good conservative policy. And I'm going to get into that as we go on with this podcast here, the latest edition of Get Right with Lenny McAllister. You know where to find me. Twitter, of course, LennyMcAllister. You know where to find me on Facebook, tiny.url.com, or actually it's tinyurl.com/Lenny page. Again, I appreciate you following me. I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the feedback. And I wanted to put out that disclaimer. I'm not going to sit here and beat the Republicans up, but I did start with the tagline of, if the conservative movement, the current conservative movement, if we were a football team, and it's fall season, I'm here back in Pittsburgh, die hard, lifelong Steelers fan, and people love the NFL. People love college football. So why not use a football analogy? If the conservative movement was a football team, it would not be a very good football team right now because this team can't score points. That's what it boils down to. They have a decent amount of talent. They have experience. But the problem with this conservative movement in the football analogy, and I'm going to jump right into it again, love your feedback, Twitter, Facebook. Hit me up, let me know what you think. This conservative movement football team does not know how to move the chains. Yes, you can score going deep, and you'll hit a deep play every now and then. You'll score hitting the home run, if you will. Drop back, play action, go for the home run. You got somebody that runs a 4-2 on the sidelines. You catch lightning in a bottle every now and then. Put them outside the hash marks and let them do a 9 route. Let them just go. Play action, throw it deep. Sometimes that works. But the way to win the game, as Herm Edwards used to so eloquently say when he was coach of the New York Jets, you play to win the game. In order to win the game, more often than not in football, it's not a matter of getting a couple of big plays that get you 50, 60, 70 yards at once, and that's how you win. You have to piece together first downs. You have to move the chains. And what did I keep telling you over the last several podcasts? The problem with this conservative movement is the fact that they do not effectively put together political wins. They do not effectively put together methodical political wins that allow you to move the sticks, move the ball down the field, and then get the big win then. It's a lot easier to chew up 7-8 minutes on a football clock and score on a first and goal from the 4-yard line where you can go play action, you can continue to run the ball, you can do anything you want. You can bootleg, you can naked bootleg, you can do a draw, you can do a screen, you can do a wide receiver screen, you can throw to the tight end, you can throw to the offensive tackle eligible if you want. There's a plethora of things that you can do first and goal from the 4 after you have driven the ball down the defense's throat. When you are, as the conservative movement seems to constantly be, in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 18, guess what? The other team's just going to play defense. They're going to give you really short gains, and you're going to punt. And what ended up happening with this debt ceiling crisis, what ended up happening when it came to the government shutdown? The conservatives, including Ted Cruz, punted on the issues. Look, let's go back to what I've said before. How do you put together methodical wins? This time last week, we were talking about delaying or repealing the medical device tax for Obamacare. Delaying or repealing it. And you had the White House, you had President Obama saying, well, that wasn't a key item within Obamacare anyway. Yeah, it was. You had to raise revenue for the thing. You had to be able to fund it. So it was something that was critical to Obamacare. Was it the most important thing in Obamacare? Was it as important as the individual mandate? No. But it was crucial. It was important. And he was willing to give it up. Was it involved in the legislation that came out of Wednesday night? No. How about some of the things that we heard about with the spending proposals? They started out with a budget of $1.2 trillion. The Republicans came in with a budgetary number of about $988 million. The Democrats went all the way down to, the Republicans went $968 billion. The Democrats came down to $988 billion. And somehow, that hasn't been agreed upon and accepted the way it should have been. You have other things that have just literally slipped through the fingers of the conservative movement once again. And why is that? It's the same reason why in August of 2011, it's the same reason why at the end of 2012, when the Bush tax rates expired, it's because, and it's the same thing now, it's because the conservative movement does not know how to move the chains. You got to move the football down the field methodically. You got to gain momentum. That's how you get the defense to take chances. That's when they start blitzing on first down and you can go play action. You can do misdirection. That's when you take your shots down the field. Again, back and forth with my football analogy. Instead, if you allow the defense to play the same exact base defense that they want to play, they're dictating the terms to the offense rather than the offense dictating the terms to the defense. And basically, in that willpower fight that's going on there, guess who ends up winning? And ends up being the defense, in this case, the Democrats. And guess who ends up winning the political battle or the football battle? It's the defense. And in this case, again, it's the Democrats. The Republican Party, and particularly the hard right of the conservative movement, I think that some of their ideologies make sense. We got to lessen the spending. I don't think Obamacare in its current form is good for the American people. But time and time again, we have seen that the far right wing does not seem to understand political wins. Take the repeal of the medical device tax. Take the win on the budgetary level. And understand that you're not going to be able to get all that you want all at once. The Obama administration was basically playing a prevent defense, 5 defensive backs in, playing 20 yards off the ball when it came to Obamacare and the individual mandate, especially at the 11th hour. Because, again, Let's go back to the football analogy. Give me your feedback, Twitter, Facebook, those of you, especially those of you that are football fans. When you start filibustering in September, before the October rollout of Obamacare, you're basically, in the football analogy, you're basically down by probably 10 points, perhaps even 2 full touchdowns. Why do they need to play up on the line of scrimmage? Why do they need to go bump and run? Why do they need to take a chance? They don't. They don't need to blitz. They let you play to them. They'll give you stuff in front of them. We'll give you the medical device tax. Take it. We'll give up some of the spending. Take it. In 2012, hey, we'll set the new revenues and that new tax rate to kick in at $1 million. Take it. Don't let it slide back down from there. In 2011, some of the concessions that the White House and the Democrats gave, take it. Take it then. He gave the extension in late 2010 in a lame duck session that the Democrats still controlled. He gave the extension for 2 more years, knowing that he was going to have to run on that. Not only do you take it, which the Republicans did, but then press him going into 2011. Press him then on Obamacare. Press him then on additional spending. Press him then on the tax rates. Chip away at Obamacare then. Instead of waiting until you're down 2 touchdowns, which if you look at the polls, we as Republicans were probably down 3 touchdowns. Don't wait until you're down 3 touchdowns in the polls. You're only about 4 minutes left in the game, and you got to score and get the ball back and score again to make it a game. And then decide that you're going to take these shots down the field in double and triple coverage, which is what was going on. Because if you look at what was going on, not only were the hardcore conservatives, such as Ted Cruz, going against the Democrats in a prevent defense with 5 and 6 defensive backs off the line of scrimmage by about 20 yards. You also had Republicans saying this is not a good idea. So half of your receivers won't even go do a fly pattern. They're breaking off their pattern at 5 and 10 yards, saying, hit me here. Let's get 10 yards at a time. Let's continue to move the chains. Let's see what we can do. And what do you have? You have, quarterback Cruz and others still pitching the ball down the field, 50, 60 yards into triple coverage. And what ends up happening? Incomplete. And eventually, what did they end up having to do? Punt the football. Where has that benefited conservatives at all in this scenario? This is a lesson that I would hope, and again, I know I'm a moderate Republican. To many, many people, that's a very, very dirty thing to be, and I apologize for that. There are certain things that I'm not going to be as far to the right as we should be. I'm still on the political right, just not that far right. With that said, though, I do believe that the conservatives have their heart in the right place in a lot of instances, but the strategy is all wrong. And it's a strategy that conservatives, I'll say this collectively, refuse to modify in any particular way, shape, or form. We've made the same mistakes in 2011, 2012, and 2013. And now we're sitting here at a point in time where we're at risk of losing in 2014 over this. We've lost $24 billion in an economy where people continue to jump out of the economy. So less people have money to spend. We could not afford to lose $24 billion more dollars. We could not afford to have people laid off for 17 days. Granted, a lot of those, from what I understand, are going to get back pay. But at the same time, there's something that's going on from a political, psychological perspective. When you continue to see the American form of government go through this, and you see the conservative movement within American politics take on this type of strategy and have it continuously be unsuccessful. So, I'm not going to sit here and bash. I'm going to offer some advice. I'm going to be John Madden. Bam! Or something along those lines. Number 1, to my conservative brethren, to my Republican brethren, you got to learn how to move the sticks. Move the ball down the field. Get 4 to 7 yards of play. And you have to control the game. You have to get methodical wins. You have to gain momentum. That's what happened during 2009 through the 2010 elections. That's the reason why you were able to get all these Republican governors. The reason why you were able to get all these Republican General Assemblies, the reason why you were able to get Tea Party activists, people that had never held elected office before in Congress. Because from 2009, with something that was only supposed to last for all of a couple of days, the Tea Party movement was only supposed to last roughly the weekend surrounding April 15th, 2009, because they were quote-unquote mad that we had a black president, unquote. That was supposed to be the whole impetus of the Tea Party movement. It was supposed to die before May. Instead, the conservative movement kept the ball moving down the field, or as the late Hank Stram would say, kept matriculating the ball down the field, boys and girls. Because of that momentum over the course of 2 years, you were able to win the big game in November 2010, including winning the former U.S. Senator from Illinois' former Senate seat. That should not have happened. That happens because you methodically put together political wins, political debates. That's because you methodically gain momentum and position yourself to be there first and goal from the 4-yard line with a plethora of options available to you with the defense on their heels, which is what you had in 2010, which is why President Obama, after they lost in November 2010, was so willing to extend the Bush-era tax rates for 2 years. Didn't have to do that with a lame duck session. Didn't have to do that with Nancy Pelosi still as the speaker. He could have simply sat on his hands, waited until 2011, and then from there said, hey, if you can work it out in the House and the Senate, I'll sign it. Knowing that it probably wouldn't get through the Senate. Now, granted, I know he wanted to get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I know he wanted to get the START Treaty passed. But did he really need to extend it for 2 full years? And agree to it and be as accommodating with it as he was? No, he did not. He still had a decent amount of political capital at that point in time. He understood that his party lost, but he still had the political capital to not go as far as he did. To my conservative brethren, look at that model. Look at that playbook from 2009 through 2010 and replicate it now. Get the methodical wins. The medical device tax was sitting there waiting for us. And again, Senator Lindsey Graham, another person that people think is too moderate, said it best on Twitter. Republicans left a lot on the table in this situation. If you're going to shut down the government and you're going to get this close to defaulting on the national debt as we're bumping up against the debt ceiling, you got to get more than this. This is not playing smart. This is basically the Brett Favre type of scenario for the Republican Party. Sometimes you can wing it and sling it, and you'll get 6 out of some wild and crazy play. Other times you're going to have somebody that has Hall of Fame talent will go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, Ted Cruz is Hall of Fame talent already, for what he did in winning that Texas primary and becoming U.S. Senator. But does look like he threw 6 interceptions in a playoff game, which you did see from Brett Favre as well. You saw him throw 6 picks against the St. Louis Rams in a playoff game. You saw him throw the deadly interception against the New York Giants in his last home playoff game as a Green Bay Packer. You saw him throw the deadly interception against the Philadelphia Eagles about 10 years ago, where he just threw it up for grabs. And that seems to be part of the strategy that you're seeing from the conservative movement. Wing it and sling it. It's popular. It's catchy. It's exciting. It's edgy. It can get you some wins. It has you on the edge of your seat. And it can break your heart. It can cost you wins that you just shouldn't lose. It will make your coach pull his hair out. And let's just be honest. If you look at this analogy from football to politics, isn't that what's going on with the conservative movement in the Republican Party right now? John Boehner, I'm sure, has gone through probably 30 packs of cigarettes over the last 48 hours alone. Why? Because he has a constituency that he's saying within Capitol Hill, he's saying this isn't going to work. We already have some wins. You want to put this back on the table in order to push our point and know that we may jeopardize losing this and looking worse and then paying the price again maybe a year from now? Brett, double coverage. They're waiting for the play action. They called out the play. Do not throw it late down the middle of the field. Both safeties and the cornerback are there, or both safeties and the middle linebacker have dropped into the middle third zone. Please do not just throw the ball up for grabs. We got a 5'8" receiver. We're down by 14 points. They know we have to take chances. Let's just get the first down. Let's just get the first down. Try to score late in the game, which, if Republicans did that, scoring late in the game would be getting a victory here, moving into 2014, and being competitive now with the poll numbers the way they are, with the optics the way they are, and with the small amount of victories that came out of this, which was basically, let's verify people's income to make sure that they can get subsidies in Obamacare. Geesh, who's going to oppose that? That's not even really a Republican idea. Brett, Ted, hardcore conservatives, Tea Party members, whether you're a candidate going into 2014 or you're already sitting in a seat on Capitol Hill, understand how we won in 2009 and 2010. Study that playbook. Be methodical. Get first downs. Move the sticks. Move the chains. Matriculate the ball down the field, boys and girls. If we were a football team, that would be our focus, right? Control the clock. Gain momentum. Impose our will on their will. And seize the day. That's what we did in 2009, 2010. Why in the world are we abandoning that tactic now? Now we want to sling the ball down the field. We want to be catchy. We want to get the cheerleader's eye and, be on Sports Center. You know what? T.O. was on Sports Center. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Chad Ochocinco was on Sports Center a lot. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. In fact, he doesn't even have a playoff win. At least T.O. went to the Super Bowl. You either want to be winners or you want to be popular. And I'll say this before I let you go. Love your feedback on Twitter or Facebook. Part of this problem, just like ESPN and all the media can be a problem with the optics in sports, all of this gerrymandering ends up being a problem in politics. If the only people you are trying to impress are the small group of folks that can get you reelected or allow you to avoid a primary, which will thus allow you to be reelected ad nauseum, why would you work with anybody else? Now, that's great. You'll get your stats, because that's what it boils down to. You'll get your stats. You'll throw for 350 yards a game, but you'll throw for 350 yards a game because we'll be down by 21 points all the time. You'll throw 4 picks, but you'll get a whole bunch of garbage yards at the end of a game when nobody really matters, and we already know the outcome. And that's exactly what happened in this scenario. We knew what the outcome was going to be because we misplayed our hand, because we overshot shooting for the moon, because we did not understand how to move the chains in a political sense. So basically, Ted Cruz, other conservatives, they got their junkyards, and we still lost. No change in Obamacare, no relief from the medical device tax, which we sorely need. People are not as happy with the American political system. People around the world are doubting us as economic and political leaders, as the economic and political foundation moving forward. And more Americans look at this political system and just throw their hands up and give up, which means that when it comes to the economy, they're not going to have as much confidence. When it comes to next year's elections, we'll see how the turnout is. And when it comes to their faith in leadership, there's a serious, serious problem. None of those things are good. All of those things indicate a loss. And from a football standpoint, you got to start going back to the offensive coordinator. You got to start going to the head coach, maybe the general manager. I don't care who you go to. But at some point in time, as I wrap this up, you have to start asking the legitimate questions. Is there something wrong with whether it's the players on the team, the playbook, or how we execute our strategy, or just the nuts and bolts of our strategy itself? Something's not right. But if we're going to win the big game, we have to control the ball, control the political conversation. We have to move the chains, piece together political wins methodically. We have to understand and read the defense so that we know when to take our shots and when not to take our shots. So we don't fumble the ball, throw a costly interception, or be forced to punt prematurely. We have to understand field position. And we have to know what a win in a political series is and when it's time to strike and get the touchdown. We don't know any of those things right now. We know what football is from a political standpoint. We know what we would like to do. But for some odd reason, we have gotten caught up in the glitz and glamour of playing the game versus understanding what Herm Edwards said years ago. You play to win the game. We don't even know what a win is anymore. What do you think? Find me on Twitter. Find me on Facebook. You know I love you. Again, Twitter, LennyMcAllister. On Facebook, it's tinyurl.com/Lenny page. It's tinyurl.com/Lenny page. I will talk to you on Friday. I appreciate you spending a little time with me today. In the meanwhile, you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Those that are working with the federal government, welcome back to work. Those of you that are following politics, keep hope alive, keep some faith, because things can change for the better. And it starts with you. You know I love you. I'll talk to you soon. TCNGB. Take care and God bless.